and welcome back to the channel. I am Braggy and it is a behind the scenes tour of the garden, so you're going to have an idea of what we got to play with in this garden and watch the development and my journey in gardening. I'm a new gardener, I'm an amateur, so this will be very interesting for anybody that's new into gardening. Now this area here used to be a little patio area, but because I've got so many plants on the go, there's all full of plants. There'll be lots of old pines, lots of perennials and also trees. I love trees and I intend to also develop growing and teaching bonsai, well, following my journey into bonsai, more or less you could say. Now a lot of these plants used to be my dad's, but they're being neglected over the years because my father, Magnar, is 90 and he has Alzheimer's. But gardening is a big help to him. When he gets out in the gardening, it brings a big smile to his face, and that's a wonderful thing to see. We'll zoom in a little bit for you and we'll pan round. As you can see, there's quite a few plants there. It is quite a mess. I'm in the middle of trying to work it out to make it better and tidier, but as these things take time. There's a nice hazel clump I took out the other day which I intend to bonsai, but that will take a few years of training and getting to its stage when it's ready. The next place we'll look at is the greenhouse, something also I've been working on behind the scenes. Hello and welcome to the greenhouse. I think every garden should have a greenhouse. And don't forget, a greenhouse is not a hothouse, so it should be open in the daytime, especially in hot weather, to get the air circulating, or else your plants will really suffer. Now in here we have lots of succulents. There's quite a few cyclamen. My father Magnar was very heavily into cyclamen and I do intend to plant a load up. I think they're most wonderful plants. We also have a lot of seed trays on the go where I've got veg, sweet corn, cabbages, peas, your normal things. I'm not a massive veg eater or grower, but we will develop at some stage a veg patch in our journey into gardening. Gardening is a wonderful thing. Let's have a closer look at some of these plants in the greenhouse. Now one of the things I struggle with is the names, especially the Latin names. So I'm not very good at pronouncing or knowing what plant is what. This will be another part of the journey we're on, is to teach myself and you guys teach me what plant I have. No doubt I'll be reading lots of books to do this as well. But you know, in the old days we had books, but now we've got YouTube as well and content to watch. And that is also very, very interesting and teaches you a lot about gardening. And one of my favourite gardening programmes is of course Gardener's World, a great programme. And I've been watching that lots recently and I can't get enough of it. So this is the first bit of the greenhouse. You'll see some succulents and quite a few bulbs as we go along. I've certainly got it airing to let some air in. I like these succulents, these are very nice with the little pink flowers. I'd love to know the name of that. And then you get into this section. Now this greenhouse was in bad state a few weeks ago, but I have managed to sort it and I've got some more work to do in here which we will record. Now over here some sunflowers. I've never grown sunflowers, so for me that's a first. In the far tray there are some black pine seeds popping up. The middle tray I've got some daisies, oxeye daisies. Now there's some sweet corn there. A few succulents hidden in that little corner. You've got to try to get the most out of your greenhouse, I think. No doubt I've made some mistakes planting my seeds, but this is the lessons I will learn as I go along. And some more plants. We do have a lot of terracotta pots and I do love them. And that's that. Now one of the problems I've had in this greenhouse is this horrible weed. Let's have a look. You can see the weed. Now one of the problems I've had on this channel, one of the problems I've had in the greenhouse is this terrible weed you'll see. I don't know what it is, but it's awful. It spreads like anything. And I've done a lot of work to try to get rid of it in here. And this is the last segment I've got to do. I've got some rose cuttings down there, hoping they'll take. I've never really been into rose cuttings or roses, but... So that's the greenhouse. Now this is also a very new way of filming and video making for me, so you have to bear with me in the journey. It's also very warm in here, and as a Viking, it is also very warm in here as I'm wearing a hood. I'm starting to sweat. So we're going to go outside now and we'll have a look at a few plants outside, and then we'll take a little venture down the garden, and I'll talk in the background and perhaps you may see me on camera. So this is a closer look at some of the plants we've got going on here. Quite a few of these pots want looking at and repotting. This is the little tree segment I'm working on. There's a very rare yew tree at the very front, so I trimmed yesterday. So this is the view to my greenhouse, or my dad's greenhouse I should say. At some point I'm going to paint it white with some greenhouse whitening to stop it getting too hot. Is that a wise idea, folks? I love to get ideas on that. And yet another thing I've not really done before, it has been painted many years ago, but the white paint you put on, the special stuff, is fading. And I don't want the greenhouse to get too hot in summer. Now we're going to go down the garden now and look at a few more areas of interest. Come with me on our magical journey. Down the garden we go. Come on. So here we have a raised border. It has a very nice stone wall, and again it is very overgrown, and there's another border that will need weeding and complete work on. In the background is a very nice magnolia with lovely yellow flowers. Magnolias are just something special, I think. This is a very old part of the garden. It has a stone wall all the way around it, and I'll pan the camera around so you can get a view of this little area. So there's a trusty wheelbarrow. As we spin round, you've got a bit of a rockery garden there. Yet again it's very overgrown and full of twitch. We don't all spread. Now we have a pond. There's no fish in it, but every year we get a pair of ducks come and land, and they're called Doris and Boris. I've always wanted to put a waterfall in that corner, but never done it. Sadly we have lost a tree this year in the garden, a very nice red acer, a nice maple. I don't know why it's died. I think the ground around here is not brilliant, and it's been suffering for a few years. But I am planting and growing a load of acers to replace this one. So that'll be another job in the future to do. In a few more years' time, maybe next year, we will plant an acer out there. And of course you can see a shed. Every garden needs a shed. Sheds are very popular. This is another area of the garden, in the same area. This is a round patio area in the shape of a compass. Over the years it's got very overgrown with grass, and this year I spent a lot of time on it. Making it look better through hard work. And in the centre I've built a fire pit. This is mostly for my other channel, so that when we tell our folk tales and talk about history on a cold day and we're outside, we can have somewhere warm to film. And you will see that in our other videos if you check out our other channel, North Werby Sagas. We have another lovely acer in the background. And if you look this direction, you'll see a lovely rhododendron. Yet again, there are another beautiful species of tree. I'd love to know the actual Latin name of that one. So if anybody knows that, please leave it in a comment. By doing that, you'll be teaching me something, and that's great. If I can teach you something and you can teach me something, we've achieved something together. Now we go further down the garden. We have a gorgeous plant here, shrub. I think it's a rhododendron, but I'm not certain. But the smell is just gorgeous. Oh, it's heavenly, it really is. And the flowers are just really, really nice. This plant has been suffering a lot over the years because the bush above it got too overgrown and smothered it out. So last year I decided to radically cut into these bushes and open up the ground a bit. I think by doing that is achieve the aim of making the tree come back to life a little bit. And we may try to do some layering on the ground with this because there's quite a few branches underneath the the shrubs which I think we could probably layer. And what do I mean by layering? Well, you get a good mulch and you kind of attach branches to the ground to encourage them to root. Some people say add a bit of root compound, but I don't. Time will do that. If you bury a branch under soil, it will root in time. It does help if you cut into the cambium layer. Let's carry on down the garden. We're now about halfway down the garden. Now, this used to be a massive one-piece lawn, but many years ago my father put a border in, and that border's, well, it's very overgrown now, and I'm sure you agree, it's very, very nice, but does need a lot of work. Yet again, it has been allowed to overgrow with too much plants. I think one of the problems is that can happen in time. We currently don't have a working lawnmower, so I can't mow the lawn, but hopefully soon that'll be sorted. We can do a video about mowing the lawn. This is another overgrown area. This is this border I talked about a minute ago. But I do like this area. It feels different in many aspects of this garden. But I do think one of the problems with this garden is it's too wide open. A lot of good gardens have these little spaces you can go from one room to another, and I like that. I see that in Gardeners World a lot, of all these really, really wonderful gardeners, how they create these little rooms in your garden. So that's something we may think about. But in order to do that, we need to plant and grow a lot of hedgings. So that is another thing we'll concentrate on. One thing we're very lucky in this garden, there's lots of wild saplings. This is another very nice part of the garden. It is more woody and it has a massive conifer in the middle. I think it's a spruce, but I can't be certain. I think it's a cedar tree of some sort. It's very big and a lovely tree. Around the tree you'll see there's a little border and it's all full of cyclamen. Around the tree you'll see there's a border. This is another border that's been allowed to, well, grow wild. I've been working on it in the last year to remove some of the trees that have been growing in it. And it's full of cyclamen. Cyclamen are amazing. I really think they're one of the most amazing plants out there. Let's have a closer look. So there you see the border. There's still quite a bit of work to be done to it, and there's still one or two trees. Like there's a nice cherry tree there that'll be dug out and used. There's a few beech that'll be used. I don't like throwing plants away if you can save them and use them. A warm welcome to the channel, Northworthy Sagas and Stories.
We will be dealing with sagas, stories and poetry, telling myths, tales of the gods and goddesses, and the cosmic forces that they dealt with. We will be telling legends of mighty mortal heroes from famous dynasties and all of their adventures.